Well, hello there, and welcome to Needlepoint TV. So, today we're going to talk about color and the number one mistake that most stitchers make when it comes to choosing colors for their needlepoint canvases. So, I would love to know, first of all, before we dive in, if you would type into the chat where you're watching from, say hello, and let me know where you are in this great, big, wonderful world we all live in. And if you're watching this as a recording, make sure you do that too, because it's always super fun for me to see who's with me. All right, so color. Color is one of my favorite things when it comes to my needlepoint hobby. I love all the pretty colors. In fact, when I had my shop, one of the things the thread manufacturers used to love to see me coming at market because they knew that if they had a new line of thread, I was going to have every color. And it happens to hold true today. Whenever I get the opportunity to go to a needlepoint shop, I love to buy threads because I love all the pretty colors. One of my favorite things about a project is choosing threads, pulling threads. And, if you have a very well painted design, then 9 times out of 10, the colors are going to all work well together. And you don't really need to do any tweaking or changing. The only exception to that might be when you happen to have maybe there's one color in the design that just is going to completely clash with your home decor or with the decor of wherever this piece is going to live. So whether that's a gift to a friend or a family member, or again, like I said, if it's going to live in your house. So sometimes we do find ourselves in need of or wanting to change a color. The big, I guess, warning or red flag that you have to keep in mind is that anytime you go to change colors, there's always that risk that it's going to become a snowball and just really roll out of control. Because once you change one color, well, then sometimes that means that another color needs to be tweaked, and then there's yet a third color that needs to be tweaked, and before you know it, you've ended up changing all the colors on the canvas. And while they may look pretty together on like laid out, if you have the luxury of being able to go to a needlepoint store and lay those threads out on the canvas and know that all the colors look pretty together, that doesn't necessarily mean that's going to translate well when you stitch that piece. So the main thing that that I find that stitchers, I call it a mistake, but it's really more a lack of knowledge or understanding, and that is that thinking that the mistake would be thinking that you can just change one color and it's not going to affect the whole canvas, because literally it can. So my biggest advice or best advice is to get a good solid understanding of color and basic color. I don't want to call it color theory because I know that can be a little intimidating, but if you have an understanding of the basics of color, just some general terms about color. In other words, and I have my definitions here because I want to make sure that I get these for you, give these to you correctly. So if you happen to have a pen and a piece of paper, you might want to jot these down, because this is something that you will find serves you well throughout your stitching career, so to speak, or your experience. A lot of people use the terms hue and color interchangeably, and while they are extraordinarily similar, there is a tiny nuance of a difference. So color is what we use to describe everything under the rainbow. It can be red, yellow, blue, green, purple, orange. Red, blue, green, yellow, purple, orange. Okay, there's one I'm missing. Maybe it's Roy G. Biv. For those of you that have never heard that, red, orange, yellow, Roy, red, orange, yellow, G, green, Biv, blue, I, indigo, V, violet, which is really purple. So those are the colors of the spectrum. And how I remember that is one of the ladies that worked with me at the shop was an interior decorator, and she was the one that introduced me to Roy G. Biv, and it just stuck. So for those of you that need some help in being able to remember what the colors of the spectrum are, just remember Roy G. Biv, and each letter is representative of the first letter in the name of the color. Also, black, white, and gray are referred to as colors. But when you talk about what a hue is, and let me look at my notes here. I want to make sure I get this right. A hue is the underlying base color of a mixture. So in other words, there are very few pure colors or pure pigments, but we have all kinds of combinations that we can make by mixing a little bit of yellow with a little bit of green to get yellow green, or a little bit more yellow with a little bit of green to get more yellow green that is really more yellow than green. But flip that, and if you add more green than you do yellow, but you still put that yellow in there, you're going to have yellow green, whoops, but it's going to be more green than yellow. So different combinations of colors, and the hue though would be whatever is the dominant color that you see. So black, white, and gray are considered neutrals. They're not considered hues. So, and when I say hue, I mean it's spelled actually Hue. And then there is also what we have, or what are known as tints, tones, and shades. So understanding and having a good basic understanding, or even just knowledge of the definition of these, is super helpful. So a tint is when you add white to a color, and that gives you more of a lighter version of the color. Now, it doesn't make that color brighter, it just makes it lighter. Many times when you think of pastels, you think about the colors that have had white added to them. So a pale baby pink, or a baby blue, or a peach. Those are all colors that have had white added to the base color. So the tint, the base color for the pink would be red. The base color for the baby blue would be blue. The base color for the peach would be orange. So you have, when you add the tint or the white, you get a tint. When you add gray to a color, you end up getting what's called a tone. So tones are what we see primarily in the world. They're actually the most aesthetically appealing of all the different options. Most people respond better to tones, so that's what you're going to see more frequently in your needlepoint designs, in your thread lines, in things that you see in advertising, in magazines. Most of the things you're going to see are going to be tones, and again, that's where you add gray to the base color. So think in terms of making the color more muted. That's what happens when you add gray to a color. And then when you have black added to a color, that's considered a shade. So black added to a color is going to make it darker. It's not, again, going to brighten it up or make it more vivid. It's just going to make it darker. And shades, when we're doing our needlepoint projects, when you think in terms of doing shading, you want to think in terms of different gradations of a particular color. So in other words, if you had the pure color, if you were using red, you use the pure color red. If you wanted to shade with that, then, or shade the red, then you could add varying degrees of red that have had little bits of black added to it to get deeper, richer versions of the red. So burgundy, claret, I'm thinking about some of the deeper, richer reds. And then if you had even lighter areas on a flower, for example, maybe a place where the light is hitting the flower more, where your light source is coming in on the design, you could then take and use some of your tints and maybe even your tones, but I would probably use more the tints in that case to get that lighter effect. So you would have maybe your dark pink and then get into your lighter pinks. So this is where knowing and understanding these terms comes in super helpful, and understanding what we're working with comes in super helpful with our needlepoint. And another thing it's really helpful to know and understand is what your primary colors are. Now, I'm sure everybody knows this from elementary school art, but red, blue, and yellow are your primary colors. Then you have your secondary colors, which are orange, purple, and green. Stop and think a minute. And then you have your tertiary colors, which are your colors like red, violet, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, green, red. Wait a minute. I've got them written down here. I don't want to miss any. So yellow, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, and blue, green. So, and in addition to your red, violet, and your red, orange. So those are the additional colors on a color wheel. And if you don't have a color wheel, I would strongly suggest that you get one, because you'll find it super, super helpful in helping you to determine what colors are going to work well together, because color schemes, which is something we'll talk about in a future episode of Needlepoint TV, are a whole nother animal that can help you really be successful when you are choosing colors for your needlepoint projects. Now, granted, we are using painted canvases, and most of the time we're going to match those colors, to the thread colors, to the paint on the canvas. But think in terms of if you wanted to do maybe one of the hearts for hospice, and you were trying to come up with a really aesthetically appealing color scheme, then once you get to know about the different kinds of color schemes that there are, then you can really let your imagination run wild. But you do have to have a good working knowledge of color and how colors work together. So let me see, I've got some other notes on the back of this piece of paper here. I want to make sure that I don't miss. So let's see. Oh, I was going to give you an example. Y'all, this is think about this. This is green. This is Splendor. Rainbow Gallery makes this thread. This is green. So this would be a secondary color on the color wheel. But when I mentioned you can have, when you add yellow to this green, you can come up with what is considered yellow green. So here is an example of a yellow green. Now, this is actually watercolors by the Karen collection. This color is called Pesto, but it is more of a yellow green because it has more yellow in it than it does green. So the hue associated with this, back to our earlier little topic of conversation, the hue of this would be yellow, not green. It's more yellow than it is green. Whereas on the flip side, if we looked at this, this is also yellow green, but it's more green than it is yellow. So when you hold it up beside this, and I hope your camera on, or your screen is going to really show this. You can see this is more green. This is more yellow. Now, I do have a tool, and let me reach behind me to grab it. This is actually a thread color palette that I created, and it's an exercise that's inside of the Stitchers Club. So if you're in the Stitchers Club, just know that inside of our master classes section, there is a module called Understanding Color, and this is the thread color palette exercise. So each one of the colors on the color wheel has its own little card, and we'll just use this one as our example here. So this is red violet, and geez, I hope that's going to look really going to show up. So what we have here, we have our shade, our tone, our pure hue, and then our tint. So remember, tint is white added to the color. There's your pure color. Then here is your tone with gray added to it. You can see how it mutes the color. And then you can also see here where we have black added to the color, and that makes it more of it's darker. So I have these obviously for all the colors, and super helpful tool when you're trying to find, especially when you're doing shading. So like I said, super helpful tool to use when you're choosing colors for your canvases, and again, particularly when you're doing shading on those canvases. So I would love to know, and let me hop over here. I need to go and see if, check out our comments and see if there are any questions. All right, so I don't see any questions at this point, but I would love to invite you to ask any questions that you may have when it comes to colors. I'm going to share with you, so while I'm giving you a chance to do that, I'm going to share with you a tool that I think every needlepointer needs to have, and they stay out of stock, but right now, if you hop over there, you can grab one because they do have them in stock, and that is going to be, let me share my screen so you can see this. Let's see. Here we go. Share my screen. And let's see. We want to go to this. And it is, here we go. Voila, the threaded color card. This is the new version that DMC has available. Now, it's not inexpensive, but it is something that you will use over and over and over and over again. And the reason I say that, let me pop up this and make it bigger so that you can see. I don't know that it's going to, no, I think that's as big as it's going to get. But what you'll use this for if you live in a place where there is no local needlepoint shop to be able to order threads from, you can use this as a tool and tell the shop owner that you need, or someone on staff, that you need a thread in whatever brand you're trying to find the match for, that is the same as, let's look at this. In the case of this, say we're looking for number 605 DMC pink, then you could tell the person who is helping you to get threads for a project that you need a pink splendor that is the same color as DMC 605 pink. And they, almost every needlepoint store is going to have one of these cards in their hands, or in their, in their toolbox, that they can use if they don't carry the thread in their store. So you absolutely can get more accurate color matches for particular threads that you may be trying to find for your projects. Now, I'm going to stop my share, and I'm going to come back and show you. Hold on one second. I'm going to come back and show you. I have one. Let me pull up here. I have one. This is what the old ones look like, but it is actually an example of the thread. So you get an example of what a thread sample. I actually just ordered a new one because DMC has come out with some new colors since I got this one. I mean, this one's pretty old. I'm not even sure. So this is the 5th edition. I don't even know what that means. But yeah, it doesn't even have a date on it. I was looking to see if there was a date on it, but there's not. So I do know that there are new colors available, and so that's why I ordered a new one. But again, an excellent tool. If you don't have one of these, I would highly recommend that you get one. And also, you can get a couple of other tools. One of them would be a color wheel. They come small. You can get, or big, whichever kinds you prefer. You can get them from art supply stores. I think places, big box chain stores like Hobby Lobby and Michael's also sell them. Of course, you can always get them online on Amazon. And in addition to that, you can get them. So some needlepoint stores carry them, and a lot of quilt stores carry them. And I'm not sure about beading or jewelry stores. They may have them too. And there are also apps that you can get for your smartphone or for your iPad or tablet that have, the color wheel on it. So you can get those as resources as well. I don't have recommendations on those because I actually have a hard copy of a color wheel that I use. So it's a real color wheel, small one, that I use, and I didn't grab it before I came down here. I should have, but there are lots of different kinds that you can get. So another thing that I think you might find super helpful is to check out. This is a good book on color for embroidery. So this is called Color Confidence in Embroidery. And this is a book by Trish Burr. Now, this is actually for surface embroidery. It's not for needlepoint specifically, but there's some really good information in here on color. And it goes into pretty good detail on shading. So that's another really good book. All right. So let me see what questions we may have. Let's see. Okay. Yes, absolutely. So we've got lots of people who are saying that they use their color card and it is an awesome tool. So yes, for sure. Um, all right. Well, so y'all, if nobody has any other questions, I am going to call it a day, and just know that we will be talking about color schemes in an upcoming episode, not too far down the road. If you are new to our Serendipity Needleworks, Serendipity or Needlepoint TV, rather, I would invite you to subscribe to our channel. You can click on the red subscribe button down below the video, or you can also click on the bell if you want to get notifications anytime I do actually go live. And we have a Serendipity Needleworks website. I will put the link up here. Let me see if I can pull this up and get it for you. So that is our website. And well, let me do this really quick before we go. Let me share with you where you can go and sign up for our weekly emails, because I do have weekly emails that I send out, and they go out on Thursdays. And so let me do that real quick. So here is our website. And if you would like to sign up for our weekly emails, there are a couple of ways you can do that. You can go all the way down to the bottom, and you can sign up down here at the very bottom of the page, or let me scroll back up to the top because it's a long page. You can also go to contact. And this is going to take you to our connect page, and you can set, whoops, oh, well, look, you can also, that'll pop up. You can sign up there. If you can see that pop up, I can see the pop up. Or you can come to here. Wait a minute, that's not it. This is where you send us an email. Let me go to, well, darn, I'm not sure. So if you want to sign up and you can't find any of those other places, you can always send us an email and say, hey, I want to sign up for the needlepoint emails that Ellen sends out every Thursday. It's called Needle Notes. You can also get our free guide. If you want to sign up, you can just click that button and it'll take you to a page just to get the free guide. So I was thinking we had a page that said connect, but I don't know where it went. Maybe it's, let me check this out. Okay. Well, so wait a minute. Maybe it's down. Nope. Okay. Well, sorry, y'all. Looks like I need to do a better tour of my own website. Just know that you can go down here to the very bottom of the page and sign up to get needle notes, though. So, all right. So let me stop sharing my screen and pop back over here to see y'all. I would say that, again, we do our weekly broadcast on Thursdays. We send out emails every Thursday, and unless something comes up, which is not very common, but every once in a while we'll have a hiccup. But I do invite you to make sure that you do subscribe to our YouTube channel and get those notifications so you know when we have another episode of Needlepoint TV. If you're watching this as a recording, again, remember you can do that too. And I appreciate you being here with me. I will see you all again real soon. Until next time, happy stitching. Bye for now.